Greetings, my name is Timothy. I am a human being, and today is August 8th, 2018. We are looking into the nature of the times from the 1st to the 3rd week of August with a focus on a partial solar eclipse coming up this August 11th. Now, just as an introductory briefing, the nature and practice of what I do is the study of time as it relates and is connected to nature. So keep in mind, we are talking about the nature of time now, August 8th, the first half of August. The nature of time later will change. Also bear in mind that I am speaking to a large audience of several thousands of people, which means that the nature of this time is going to affect everybody differently, and therefore my intention is to focus on collective themes, generalities, as well as the diversity of different ways that this nature and time can play out for everybody. I should say some of the diverse ways, because again, I am just one human being. Bear in mind that when we talk about relationships, we're not simply talking about partnerships or romantic relationships or marriages. We are talking about relationships in general. And bear in mind, when we're talking about sexuality, we're not simply talking about the physical act of sex or reproduction, but rather the sexual creative function which is inherent in life and nature and the source of all life and nature that we know. Okay, so that being said, where we are right now is a collective time of great change. We have at this particular time 7 planets, including Chiron, retrograde, which is unusual. And when we have this many planets retrograde, it is a highly experimental, highly erratic, and unpredictable period of exploration, going inside of ourselves and discovering what really works through trial and error, experimentation, and sometimes a necessary detachment from the past, how we used to do things, how the world, culture, and society may have trained us or conditioned us to act, to express ourselves, or relate with others in life. As on a deeper unconscious dimension, our souls are attempting to discover new ways of doing things, which can sometimes be provoked through the challenge of having old ways blocked or the past brought up in new ways and needing to address loose ends in order to make necessary changes. In this regard, there is a potential for so much liberation and so much healing through experimentation, exploration, and being willing to make discoveries through trial and error. And so this is a time where we all necessarily need to be flexible. We're in the midst of eclipse season still. We're talking about a solar eclipse in Leo, which is tying up the last eclipse season. There's been a lot of unsteadiness going on for weeks. This week, Uranus stations retrograde at the 2nd degree of Taurus. When Uranus is retrograde, there is this intense drive to break away from reality as we've known it before. It's a very rebellious, very exciting, pioneering period, again, that can also be connected to a creative frustration. What we're doing is old, we're tired of it, we want to be into the new. And Uranus in Taurus is a fundamental exploration of how to be more connected to our bodies, have more space to relax, having a healthy relationship to the earth that provides us with abundance, energy, and sustenance. This deals with how we deal with money, economies, living situation, environments, so on and so forth. Now, Uranus and Taurus can evoke these changes by creating unpredictable, shocking circumstances or a sense of divine discontent. Where we are right now feels claustrophobic. This dynamic feels imprisoning. And this feeling of claustrophobia and imprisonment is the same thing that can push us into breaking free into new dimensional possibilities and new ways of directing our willpower. For example, Uranus and Taurus turning retrograde now can really shake up the Earth in order to create changes in terms of how we deal with the Earth, natural resources, Earth changes, so on and so forth. So, for example, on the west coast of the United States, there are these ravaging forest fires going through California this entire year for the most part, that is really shaking up a lot of souls, driving people out of their homes. There's nearly 1,000 homes that have burnt down just recently due to these forest fires. And so our heart goes out to those dealing with this erratic instability, and hopefully this can propel us into providing new resources and new ground to stand on that can actually be better than where we have been before. Mars is retrograde at the 1st degree of Aquarius, will retrograde back into Capricorn Sunday, August 12th, and station in Capricorn at the end of this month, August 27th. So Mars is going back to Capricorn and will remain there for a month through September 10th. And there is this, well, I guess it's not a full month, is it? Several weeks. And there is this rolling back, having to go back and say, is this really what we want to do? Is this really in alignment with who we are? Does this give us this sense of freedom? Are we aligned with our energy, our direction, and willpower as unique souls? And there's an opportunity to redirect what we're doing, who we're working with, the social groups we're involved with, how we use technology. And Mars stationing direct in Capricorn can really deal with how we are functioning in society. There's a huge opportunity to find direction. Okay, find our strength, find our willpower, be that inner warrior for ourselves. This is about being our own authority, not conforming to the will of others that does not reflect what we value, but rather there's a huge opportunity to find connection to what gives us a deep sense of meaning, as well as give us a platform to share our own unique, creative self-expression. This partial solar eclipse in Leo is about the exploration of reconnecting with that spontaneous inner voice, our inner child, that warm and radiant nature that speaks through us spontaneously and is excited and feels full of meaning when we are in alignment with something that acknowledges who we truly are. So this is a powerful solar eclipse. We'll talk about how there's a yod on this eclipse, and this new moon is also square to Jupiter. So this can be very powerful creative urges, very powerful sexual desires, a huge drive to explore, to be bold, to be who we are. And it is an opportunity to find confidence in our unique expression. Again, to be the authority that we are in the world. That being said, the square to Jupiter can also get very excited, be very overwhelming, over-ambitious, over-extroverted. And so we do have to take with a grain of salt what all of these desires and excitement is, because again, this is a highly experimental phase. We also have Mercury in the sign of Leo, moving retrograde, joined with this solar eclipse. And this is an exploration into how we express and communicate our own creative purpose, our own sexual desires, who we are individually and uniquely. And so this is also an exploration of how we use our minds, how we use technology to communicate our creativity. This is a period where we're going to notice the things that get in the way of our confidence or our capability to share who we are or our own creative expression. What are the things that block our feeling of momentum going forward? This can create a necessary frustration, so to discover creative creative solutions. This is how I can find meaning in what I'm sharing and how I'm connecting with others. And simultaneously, it's empowering on my own soul's journey. This is how to creatively express my own sexual needs and to find meaning in my own sexual expression as a way of liberating who I actually am, or filling my body with necessary energy and feeling of pleasure, so to be able to give back to the world without feeling cut off from my own inner child, cut off from that sense of adventure, but rather have that sense of fun and playfulness going on. So yes, this can potentially be a very fun and exciting, new, playful, new moon, partial solar eclipse in Leo. And there's a lot more going on than just that, And so again, allow that to be a discerning factor in terms of who you're tuning in and trusting information from. This is a very dense, complicated time. This new moon squaring to Jupiter is also an exploration of, well, what do I really need to feel free? How do I release my full expression? And my full expression has many different layers. For example, our own creative sexual desires likely has many different layers. That's why I began this video by explaining sexuality goes more than just simply the sexual physical act. Our sexual energy is linked to our own vital force. This is why in the traditional Eastern religions it is said that the sexual energy is one with the Kundalini, that actually is what is the source of enlightenment, by raising that sexual energy and finding its connection to our spiritual purpose. And so the idea that sexuality doesn't matter, or the religious stigmas, that it's something we should put on the back burner, can actually cause so many distortions, creative blockages, frustrations, that actually will prevent us from being able to be who we actually are in our own unique creative expression. Our use of sexual energy goes beyond the sex act. It's also how we channel and flow in terms of expressing and radiating our own unique self with other people. And our sexual desires, though they may be complicated, though there may be many layers of the onion, tells us a lot about who we are, our relationships to our parents, our past lovers, our past involvement with men or women, so on and so forth. That's the reason why it's necessary to do creative self-exploration, whether that means exploring the diversity of your sexual desires, whether that means using some type of creative or spiritual or artistic practice or function to transform that energy into something with higher meaning and purpose. This is all a part of the experiment going on at this time. Now, Venus has just entered her own sign of Libra this last Monday, August 6th. And today, Venus is opposite to Chiron. Tomorrow, she squares Saturn. So the first half of August, we can also be really dealing with themes in relationships. And through the mirror of relationships, so much can be revealed and so much healing can happen. What our partners are reflecting back to us, in terms of our work associates, because relationships extends beyond our partners, our friends, our parents, who we're functioning with. All of these things can be reflecting back, hey, are you really connected with people that reflect back your values and are encouraging you to be the unique person that you are? Or is there some form of overextension or overcompensation where somebody is sacrificing themselves or being shoved under the rug, or there's a disbalance in relationship or our sexuality or the expression of our creativity or values? Venus in Libra is very creative, wants to be involved in groups and other people, is driven to create justice, equality, harmony, and balance. And through the reflection of relationship, we may be feeling or seeing, hey, this is where things are not totally imbalanced. We do have different genders that we're born into, and there are collective gender stigmas and stereotypes and prejudices that we get conditioned by. and I'm supposed to be this way, I'm supposed to be like my father, I'm supposed to uphold this role because my last relationship made me feel this way, etc., etc., etc. All of these planets retrograde is about deconditioning. What those original set of circumstances, who we used to be, the old self-image, the old role, expectation, obligation, duty. These are what we're really examining is, does this make me feel safe? Does this allow me to be who I am? And what I'm going to say is that every soul is completely unique. There is no one size fits all. Therefore, the whole men should behave this way, women should behave this way, this is what you do in a relationship, this is what I do in the relationship, should not be set in stone. We are in a day and age where we are pushing the boundaries of how to function in relationships to create greater justice and equality, largely by honoring and integrating the fact that all human beings have within us masculinity and femininity. Indeed, this new moon, this Venus opposite to Chiron, square Saturn, can bring up the anima-animus complex. You're a woman, so you shoved away your masculinity. You're a man, you shoved away your femininity. This Venus opposite to Chiron can also bring up instinctual projection. Oh, all men are this way and need to do this. Oh, all women are this way and need to do that, And there, again, there's general themes going on. We're coming out of a patriarchal, male-dominant age, which, by the way, was a lose-lose for everybody. This wasn't a get-out-of-jail-free ticket for men. And feminism. Women coming back into their power is good, is necessary, is help rebalancing things. And yet, we don't live in a one-size-fits-all world. Everybody is different. There are plenty of men more feminine than there are women who are masculine, vice versa, so on and so forth, and there's nothing wrong with that. But before we go stigmatizing or projecting onto our partners, oh, you're this way, you're that way, we need to go inside and self-reflect. How this might be a part of my own conditioning, or my experience with my parents, or my experience with my ex-partners, that made me feel like this isn't fair, or I'm hurt by this expectation, or this redundant pattern seems to happen and I'm just expected to uphold my end in the deal, and is that really reflecting what I want to share, and my heart, and my values? So it's really important for us to be very openly communicating right now. For us to be vulnerable, have these difficult conversations in relationships. Easier said than done when the Sun and Mercury is square to Juno, the partnership asteroid. We have to put this into practice. We need to express our own emotional needs in relationships, not just shove it under the rug because they will pop up later, or they will cause us to not be able to function together. And that's not anybody's fault when we're not communicating our needs or what's actually going on beneath the surface. Sun square to Juno can be conflicts between our own individual direction, what we need to do in order to be the creative souls that we are. This is my voice. This is my song. Sun in Leo is just like the opera singer, or what we sing in the shower when nobody else is around. Oh, this is who I am. This is my purpose. This is my truth. This is my religion. And again, this is wonderful to embody in the high octave understanding that we should celebrate who we are. I encourage us all to celebrate ourselves this weekend. This new moon eclipse can be the light at the end of the tunnel for much of the difficulty, instability, trauma that has been going on for weeks and months. This trauma is still a theme going on. Mars is stationing on the moon's south node and will be there the next month and a half. It is an opportunity to look at how our own sexual energy, our drive, our willpower has been affected by the collective, by the hive mind, by group consciousness. And has that helped us align with our individual purpose? Every unique soul has a purpose for being on this earth. This is what I study and practice as a profession, working with clients individually. Everybody's different. Nobody's doing the same thing. You can't give the same prescription to everybody. We have to take all that I say in these weekly videos with a grain of salt, and please check in with yourself. Does this make sense? Because you must throw out everything that I say that does not resonate with your heart and soul. And I'm going to take it a step further and say, I will not say everything that resonates with your heart and soul. And good. Please do not depend on me to be yourself. You must be your own authority for your own direction in life. And if you are uncertain of what that direction is, it is a time to self-reflect and to do the self-inquiry practice. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is my direction? Try something out, and if it doesn't feel right, try something else out. Mars retrograde is we're acting out these different desires, or we might be having different triggers. This hurt me, and I don't know why. Why did I react this way? Or I did this thing because I've always wanted to, and why? It had a different result than I thought it was going to be. These inquiries and explorations is how we discover who we are. All these planets being retrograde is about doing it our way and finding our unique connection to Source. It's not the same for everybody. There is no one size fits all. There is no one religion. There is no one savior. There is no one practice. There is no one astrologer. So on and so forth. So we need to do this really checking in with ourselves. We need to honor our ego. What do we want? What do we desire as a unique individual? I like to call this dynamic the inner child rather than the ego, because the ego carries all of these ancient connotations that being selfish is somehow wrong. But when we actually give ourself, which is our unique purpose, our unique desires up, all we actually do is conform to the world's expectation, and it is no less than a sacrifice without really there being a compensation. It's almost like giving up, because our unique desires, our inner child, and our sense of purpose is connected to why we are born on the earth in the very first place. And it's not to do it the same way as everybody else. Every human being has their own part. The understanding, the wisdom of Leo is that we are all divine children of God. We are distinct individuals. No, not everything's just one and everything else is an illusion. That becomes a cheap distortion of the meaning and the significance of why we live our lives. We are born as individuals because that birthing as an individual ego is what actually honors and increases the beauty and the love of life, God, nature, and everything. And so, the nature of everything is the beauty of the divine orchestra. But within that orchestra is a diversity of different instruments that have different parts and different octaves and different sounds. And Leo is about the self-celebration, the self-honoring, knowing our bodies are our temples. We are a child of God, and our unique sense of purpose, our unique self-expression is our individual instrument, which is contributing back to the collective divine orchestra, the divine dance, the divine beauty, and divine flow. Well, Venus in Libra wants to honor that beauty of the balance between self and other. I am sharing my beautiful song, and you are in harmony with me. That makes being an individual even more enjoyable, because as we're singing our part, we're also hearing the beauty, the harmony, and the interconnection of others as well. So it makes sense the creative tension of this time can be the seesaw going back and forth. This is what I want, this is what you want. How do we form that bridge in between? I have the time for self-exploration at the cost of what you're doing. I am carrying most of the weight, and it's making me feel like I'm the grown-up and you're the child. How do we change this dynamic? How do we balance out? So on and so forth. Venus opposite to Chiron square to Saturn can also bring up the challenge of money. It's like, oh, we want to be creative. Oh, we want to be on a vacation and for the child to be able to create and be free, and you know, the work obligations got doubled. Somebody fined me. The tax return came back different than we thought it was going to be. All of a sudden I'm not getting the support that I thought I was going to get at the time that I wanted, and now we have to change all of these things. Part of the investigation of Uranus and Taurus is to pioneer the new ways of feeling relaxed, feeling good, feeling abundant, connected to our bodies, connected into nature in ways that can actually be simpler than what we've been taught in the past. All of these inventions and discoveries may be groundbreaking, and yet it seems like it's so simple and so primitive and can have such a profound result. So bear that in mind. If you're dealing with financial situations, it may in fact just be temporary, but find the ways to relax and to settle down and to give yourself creative outlets, even if it's not requiring going on a vacation to a 5-star resort. This is actually a very challenging and dark period. Let's talk about the big picture for a second. Pluto is on his own south node these years. Chiron has just moved back. Saturn has just retrograded back to, the early degrees of Capricorn square to Chiron. This is a challenging time. This is a period of great healing potential that can be forced. You must address this wound. You really don't feel good about this. You really don't have the money or funds. You're put into this creative crisis. And it's this opportunity for us really, again, to split away from the old, the traditions, the foundations that actually become imprisoning, that does not allow us to be free. And again, this can create that necessary journey of healing through the wound of we're not free yet, or this really hurts, or it feels really dark, or it's really heavy, or it's really challenging. So no, this is not just necessarily a party, visually manifest your future and everything's going to work out reality. That's not how life is. Rather, when we feel hurt, when we are challenged, when we are feeling the wound, it is an opportunity to follow that trail of breadcrumbs within, to discover what the nature of the wound is about. Chiron's the shamanic healer that takes us down into the past, down into the wounds, and brings healing awareness to those places. That way, realistic healing can happen. We do have to put effort into our journey. We do have to align our willpower with our beliefs and do the work to make our reality real. We can't just visualize or believe something that's going to come to us or save the day or the savior that's going to do all the work for us. This only creates victim mentality or inadequacy, like I did all the believing and it didn't happen, and so there must be something wrong with me, or I'm being punished by the universe. No, we're not being punished by the universe. We're born on a planet where things aren't that easy, and we're having to step up into our authority if we do want to be healers for ourselves, and particularly if we want to offer this healing to others. We must respect the diversity of unique expressions. We must respect our own inner child's story. This new moon in Leo is this necessary reflection on this is my truth, this is my story. Leo isn't just fun and games and the stereotype of being the attention seeker. Very missing stereotype here. Leo is also the hero's journey, the person who's out there as an individual doing the work that nobody else is doing. The leader, the king, who has to direct his entire kingdom without there being a higher person to give him the message or the word. We are that king of our own creative journey. There is this nobility of being the leaders and the deciders of our own fate. So we need to embrace that we do have the power to change things and to take control. We are fairly accountable for the world and life that we live in. No, this doesn't mean that your temporary discomfort is a result of you failing. It means that you can create changes that will allow this temporary discomfort to actually be the hidden blessing that is giving you the friendly push into more of your own power and authority to create the reality that you want to live in the actual practically is going to work type of way. And we need more people stepping up, laying the foundation, creating the platform for other people that is inviting others out of the old system, the old hierarchy, and the old rules. Because these things in particular is all what's changing these years. And so Leo is also the hero's journey, and we face many trials, the way Hercules faced 12 difficult trials, initiating him into being the hero that he is. Similarly, we're all on a hero's journey. We all do have challenges, and these challenges is what shapes us into mastery. Speaking of mastery, this new moon eclipse forms a yod between Neptune in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn. This is a refining of our individual expression, so to find the integration of our power. Pluto is our capability to be catalysts of change in the world. Pluto through Capricorn is drilling out the old systems, the old authorities, the rules, the regulations, hierarchies, bosses, governments, how we relate to these things. Are we being controlled by external forces? And are we giving more power away than necessary? I'll give one example, a common example of how people tend to do this in a huge ways through conspiracy theories. Oh, the government controls us, and oh, we're going to get robbed, and this is not fair, and police officers are always out to get us. Again, there are truths to all these stereotypes, but we do not live in a one-size-fits-all reality. The amount of fear that we increase and inflate through these conspiracy theories is enormously self-defeating. We have the power to change governments. We have the power to change external companies. Governments and companies serve the people. We still have that power, even if it seems that's been taken away. That largely has been through the puppeteering and the manipulation of people in power. We're not saying that doesn't go on. We're saying that that shouldn't control our lives, because it doesn't. You aren't living in prison right now. You aren't being force-fed a particular part of food. Therefore, you have the capability to get out of the system in some way, shape, or form, and right now we're really being driven to do this. The other side of this yacht is Neptune in Pisces. Here's the vision of the future. Uranus turning retrograde. We can get glimpses of the future. With Uranus, it can be frustrating because we see the future and we're not there yet, and it's just like, shit, let's just get there. Come on. I want to be there now. This feels restricting. It could be so much better, Similarly, this yod is shaping our capability to be in our power, change our reality, and align that with our vision. This is also, Pluto and Neptune, these are the big god planets. I mean, Pluto and Neptune shape our purpose in some of the deepest ways. Pluto is the underworld. Neptune is the upper world. Here is this refining of the sun in Leo being the human being that we are, is a unique experience. Because we are connected to both the upper and the underworld. Is one good and the other bad? No. Is one where we go to get punished and the other where we go to get rewarded? No. The underworld is our unconsciousness.
Hello again. Evidently, my camera ran out of recording space, and so, typical Mercury retrograde, we're rolling back and doing it differently. Fortunately, I got most of what I wanted to say out there, but to resume on where I last left off, this yod on this new moon solar eclipse in between Pluto and Neptune. Pluto is our unconsciousness, everything that is beneath the surface, coming from many past lives of experience, our early childhood dynamics, what we experienced before we even have the memory of it, can shape our own unconsciousness. The key is when our unconscious dynamics remain unconscious to us, they possess us, being like a marionette on strings. Therefore, by exploring our strange desires, inconceivable attractions and repulsions, strange phobias, this is the way to become empowered by illuminating the unconscious and making the unconscious conscious. This is how we step up into our soul's power. This is how we can be catalysts of change in the world through recognizing the collective themes, how they have affected us. And this is what can bring us into this Neptune in Pisces, this vision of the ideal reality, our connection to source, our real motivation coming from our higher self or spirit. And so this new moon in Leo, acknowledge your hero's journey, acknowledge your quest. It's not always easy to be the hero. There are many challenges and trials that the hero must overcome, but they all shape us into being the unique and the gifted soul that you are. And so this weekend, around the 11th, do something to celebrate yourself. Do something to acknowledge your unique expression, what you're contributing to the world, even if it's just having fun or playing or doing something your child didn't get to do while you were younger, and give yourself permission to explore and to anchor what this might be saying about who you are. No, this is not necessarily a fun-loving new moon. No, it's not your fault. It's not because you're doing something wrong necessarily that you can't keep up with the false pretense of the so-called guru, spiritual teacher, astrologer who always posts hunky-dory, happy, shiny, bright teachings. You don't have to tune into their false pretense. And if you are happy, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you either. You don't have to take it personally. But these can be very difficult and challenging times. There is a lot of healing happening through relationships. There can be a sensation of claustrophobia and heaviness. And is there anything wrong with those feelings? Absolutely not. Like a trail of breadcrumbs, they are leading you into your truth, your story, what's good and bad about the world, what we like and what we don't like can initiate us into being the healers that we are by following the trail of breadcrumbs, even if it is into challenging or not emotionally safe feeling areas. We can be the support system for ourselves, and we don't have to compromise into relationships that do not share our values, that do not provide us with emotional support, or participate in groups that put pressure or scrutinizing judgments on us that does not support our own healing journey. Rather, this is the opportunity for us to initiate ourselves into the space that we need. Do something to relax. These eclipses can be very fast-paced, can be very overwhelming, can take a toll on the nervous system and the body. So even if it's something ridiculously simple, try to integrate something that allows you to relax, to process, to tune into those feelings, so to move through them and find the light at the end of the tunnel. And other than that, I am just absolutely wishing the best to yourself, all of those that you love, holding up those mirrors. I am wishing the best to you, to your soul tribe, and all of your immediate connections. Hang in there, try to rest. Please do take care. All right, I'm going to turn off now. Namaste.